The morning sun cast long shadows across the empty Bernabeu Stadium as Lamine Yamal stepped onto the pristine grass. He had come early for what he thought would be a solo training session, but fate had other plans. As he juggled the ball with effortless precision, a familiar voice echoed through the vast arena. Not bad for a Barcelona player in Real Madrid's home. Yamal spun around to see Cristiano Ronaldo emerging from the tunnel, his iconic smile gleaming under the stadium lights. "What are you doing here?" Yamal asked, still in disbelief. Ronaldo chuckled as he approached, his movements still carrying that unmistakable confidence. "I was visiting some old friends when I heard there was a young magician practicing here. Couldn't resist meeting the boy everyone's talking about." He paused, studying Yamal with keen eyes. "They say you're the future of football. Let's see if the present can still teach the future a thing or two." The challenge in his voice was unmistakable, and Yamal felt his competitive spirit ignite. "What did you have in mind?" Yamal asked, his excitement barely contained. Ronaldo grinned and pulled out his phone, scrolling through his playlist. Suddenly, the stadium sound system came alive with pulsing music. "First challenge, freestyle dance with the ball. Show me your creativity, kid." Without hesitation, Yamal began an intricate routine, the ball seeming to defy gravity as it danced around his feet, shoulders, and head. His movements were fluid, almost supernatural. Ronaldo watched with growing admiration, nodding appreciatively at each skillful touch. When the music stopped, Ronaldo slow clapped dramatically. "Impressive. But let me show you how we did it in my era." The Portuguese legend took his position, and suddenly the years seemed to melt away. His freestyle was different, more powerful, more theatrical. He incorporated tricks that seemed physically impossible, his body moving with the precision of a dancer and the strength of an athlete. The ball became an extension of his will, following commands that seemed to come from pure instinct rather than thought. "Your turn to be amazed," Ronaldo said with a wink. "Next challenge, target practice. See those water bottles on the stands?" Yamal looked up to see a dozen bottles strategically placed around the stadium's lower tiers. "We take turns. Each bottle we hit, we get to ask the other person any question we want." Yamal accepted eagerly. This wasn't just about football skills anymore. It was about getting to know his idol. He lined up his first shot, focused intensely, and sent the ball sailing in a perfect arc toward the nearest bottle. Crash! Direct hit, excellent, Ronaldo exclaimed. "Ask away, young one." Yamal thought for a moment. "What was your biggest fear when you were my age?" Ronaldo's expression grew serious. "I was terrified of being ordinary. I had this burning inside me, this need to prove that a kid from Madeira could conquer the world. Sometimes that fear pushed me to train until I collapsed. The doubt of others is my fuel," Yamal replied honestly. "When people say I'm too young, too small, too inexperienced, something inside me lights up. I want to prove that talent doesn't have an age limit." Ronaldo nodded approvingly. They continued their target practice, each successful hit revealing deeper truths about their journeys. Through their conversation, Yamal learned about Ronaldo's struggles with criticism, his relentless pursuit of perfection, and the loneliness that sometimes came with greatness. In return, he shared his own dreams, fears, and the pressure of carrying Barcelona's hopes. As the last bottle shattered, Ronaldo proposed a new challenge. "Speed and agility course. I'll set up cones, and we'll race through different patterns." Using equipment from the stadium's training rooms, they created an elaborate obstacle course spanning half the pitch. "Winner gets to choose our final challenge," Ronaldo announced. They lined up at the starting line, both competitors despite the generational gap. "Ready, set, go." They burst forward, weaving through cones with lightning speed, their different styles creating a mesmerizing contrast in motion. Yamal's youthful agility gave him an early advantage, his smaller frame allowing him to navigate tight spaces with incredible precision. But Ronaldo's experience and raw power kept him competitive, his longer strides eating up ground on the straightaways. They were neck and neck as they approached the final section, a series of hurdles followed by a sprint to the finish line. In a burst of determination, Yamal launched himself over the last hurdle and crossed the line just milliseconds before Ronaldo. Both athletes collapsed on the grass, breathing heavily but grinning widely. "Well played," Ronaldo gasped, offering his hand to help Yamal up. "You've earned the right to choose our final challenge. What will it be?" Yamal's eyes sparkled with mischief. "I want to try something impossible. Let's see if we can score goals from the halfway line. But here's the twist, we have to hit specific targets on the goal. Top corner, bottom corner, dead center. 5 targets, and we alternate." Ronaldo raised an eyebrow. "Now you're speaking my language. But let me add something, we do it blindfolded for the last 3 shots." The stakes had just gotten significantly higher. They set up targets, small cones placed precisely in each corner and center of the goal. The first shots were challenging enough from the halfway line, requiring perfect technique and power. Yamal went first, studying the target like a sniper analyzing his mark. 1 point, he celebrated. Ronaldo stepped up with characteristic confidence. His shot was a thunderball, perfectly placed in the bottom left corner. The cone exploded on impact. "That's how it's done," he said with his signature celebration pose. The competition intensified with each shot. Both players demonstrated why they were considered among the world's best. Their accuracy from distance almost supernatural. As they approached the blindfolded portion, tension filled the air. "This is where it gets interesting," Ronaldo said, tying a cloth around his eyes. He had to rely purely on muscle memory and instinct. His first blindfolded shot sailed just wide of the target. "Your turn, young one." Yamal closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the ball, visualizing the target's position. He struck with conviction, and the crowd of stadium workers who had gathered cheered as his shot found its mark. "Incredible." Ronaldo removed his blindfold, shaking his head in amazement. "You have something special, kid." That wasn't luck, that was pure footballing instinct. As they prepared for the final shots, both blindfolded, the atmosphere became electric. This wasn't just about winning anymore. It was about pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Ronaldo's final attempt was masterful, the ball curving through the air in a perfect arc, but it struck the crossbar and bounced out. Now everything depended on Yamal's last shot. The young player closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let everything else fade away. In that moment of absolute focus, Yamal felt connected to something greater than himself. He could sense the goal's position, the wind's direction, even the ball's eagerness to fly. His shot was poetry in motion, rising and dipping with perfect trajectory. The ball struck the target dead center with a satisfying thunk. The small crowd erupted in cheers. Ronaldo was the first to reach him, lifting the young player in a bear hug. "That was impossible, and you made it look easy." He laughed. "I think the student has become the teacher." But their adventure was far from over. "Wait," Ronaldo said suddenly, his eyes lighting up with inspiration. "I have one more idea. Something I've never tried before." He pulled out his phone and made a quick call. Within minutes, a helicopter appeared overhead, lowering a platform with multiple balls. "Aerial target practice," he announced. "We're going to try to hit targets while the balls are dropped from different heights." "It's completely insane, and that's exactly why we need to do it." Yamal stared in disbelief. This was beyond anything he had imagined when he woke up that morning. But the thrill of the impossible challenge was irresistible. The first balls began dropping from varying heights and angles, creating moving targets that required split-second timing and incredible precision. Both players found themselves pushing the limits of their abilities, attempting shots that defied conventional football logic. Some attempts were spectacular failures, sending balls sailing into the stands or skidding across the pitch. But occasionally, magic happened. A perfectly timed volley would connect with a dropping ball, creating moments of pure footballing artistry that seemed to suspend the laws of physics themselves. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, both players realized they had shared something extraordinary. They had pushed each other beyond their comfort zones, discovered new possibilities within themselves, and forged a connection that transcended age, nationality, and club allegiances. "You know," Ronaldo said as they sat on the grass, both exhausted but exhilarated, "I came here thinking I'd show a young player a few tricks. Instead, you've reminded me why I fell in love with this game in the first place." Yamal smiled, knowing this day would influence his career forever. "But we're not done yet," Yamal said with renewed energy. "I have one final challenge for you." He stood up and walked to the center circle, placing a ball at his feet. "Let's end this with something pure. No tricks, no gimmicks. Just you, me, and the ball. One-on-one until someone scores. Winner takes all the glory." Ronaldo's competitive fire instantly rekindled. This was what football was truly about, the primal competition between two players, testing skill, will, and heart. "You're on," he said, taking his position. The ultimate showdown was about to begin. What followed was a masterclass in individual brilliance. Yamal used his speed and agility to create space, while Ronaldo relied on his experience and power to maintain control. The ball moved between them like a living thing, each touch revealing new layers of skill and creativity. Neither player could gain a decisive advantage as they danced around each other, probing for weaknesses, creating opportunities only to see them expertly defended. The game became a beautiful stalemate, both players pushing themselves to their absolute limits, neither willing to concede defeat. Finally, After what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, both players stopped simultaneously, breathing heavily but smiling widely. Draw, Ronaldo suggested. Draw, Yamal agreed. They had both won something more valuable than a simple victory. They had gained mutual respect and pushed each other to new heights. As they shook hands, stadium lights began to flicker on around them, creating a magical atmosphere. "This has been the most incredible day of my life," Yamal admitted. "Mine too," Ronaldo replied, and he meant it completely. "Before we finish," Ronaldo said, reaching into his bag, "I want to give you something." He pulled out a jersey, not just any jersey, but the one he wore during his first Champions League final victory. "This brought me luck when I needed it most. Maybe it will do the same for you." Yamal's eyes widened as he held the precious garment. "I can't accept this," he stammered. "You can and you will," Ronaldo insisted. "Greatness should be passed down, not hoarded. Promise me you'll remember this day when you're lifting your own trophies." Yamal nodded, overwhelmed by the gesture's significance. As they prepared to leave the stadium, both players knew they had shared something that would bond them forever. The competitive fire that had driven their challenges had evolved into mutual admiration and genuine friendship. "Will we do this again?" Yamal asked hopefully. Ronaldo grinned, that same infectious smile that had charmed millions of fans worldwide. The sound echoing through the empty stadium. Their football adventure had created memories that would last a lifetime. Walking toward the tunnel, they reflected on the lessons learned and boundaries pushed. For Yamal, the day had been a masterclass in dedication, creativity, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. He had seen firsthand how a true champion approached challenges, never settling for good enough when greatness was possible. For Ronaldo, it had been a reminder of football's pure joy, stripped of pressure and expectations. The young player's enthusiasm had rekindled his own passion for the game's simple pleasures. Both had grown in ways they hadn't expected. At the stadium's exit, they paused for one final moment together. The night air was cool and filled with possibilities. "Remember," Ronaldo said, placing a hand on Yamal's shoulder, "talent will get you noticed, but dedication will make you legendary. Never stop pushing your limits." Yamal nodded solemnly, understanding the weight of these words. "And remember," he replied with a smile, "sometimes the student can surprise the teacher." They embraced briefly, to generations of football excellence connected by their shared love for the beautiful game. The legend and the rising star parted ways, forever changed.